the pick number. So cool. Okay, so the first over pick went to this year went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, to Kyrie Irving. And I do not have Kyrie in my as my first pick in my redraft. I actually have Kawhi Leonard. I think he overall has had the most time in being a top 5 player. He's been the most impactful, and he's probably the top guy in the draft that I'd want to start a team with. And right now at this time, they didn't have LeBron back. And I think just you take best available. I mean, Kawhi's a transcendent player. What did you guys have?
I put Kawhi as well. I mean, just like you said, this guy, I mean, as great as Kyrie has been, I don't think there's ever been a point where we could say he's a top 5, even top 3 player in the league. I mean, Kawhi literally basically single-handedly took the Raptors to the finals and beat Golden State. Kyrie never did anything like that. So to me, he's the number 1 pick.
Are we supposed to be doing this with like pure hindsight, like based on everything we know now?
We have total hindsight. Yep, we have total hindsight. So like the idea is to go off what we know now. So we know that Kawhi was incredible. So we can pick Kawhi.
Yeah.
I think yep.
I was gonna say I'd go with Kawhi too then, but like I do understand why Kyrie was the first pick, and I think I don't think it was a bad pick by the Cavs
no, not at all.
No, not at all. One sec, I'm gonna quickly grab a water. Yeah, so what makes this super interesting is having all the hindsight. You get guys like and this is what's interesting in this draft, you get guys like Isaiah Thomas, who were really good for a couple of seasons. He made second team All-NBA, but he's out of the league now. So you have guys like that who it's like, you could have him for a little bit and be really good for a little bit, but he's not going to be a foundational piece. But you also have guys in this draft who might not have had as good of a peak, but were really good role players for a really long time, like Bojan Bogdanovic, Valanciunas, Vucevic. So that's where this gets really interesting. So cool. And actually, I think the original pick, Kyrie, was a pretty good pick. I think this is one of those where drafts where like the Rockets took Hakeem Olajuwon over Michael Jordan, and you're not like looking back, you don't really look at that as a bad pick. It just wasn't the best pick. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of looking like, I mean, I don't think it's as much to the extent of that, but I think DeAndre Ayton has been a good player, just not a Luka Doncic player.
Yeah.
Same with Trae Young and Luka, I mean.
Trae Young is incredible. So cool. We'll go Kawhi Leonard first off the board. So here is where I think my pick might be a little controversial, and I could go 2 ways. Honestly, there's 3 players I could see being taken here. So this was so the Timberwolves originally took Derrick Williams, which he ended up busting pretty bad. He never, averaged between 8 and 10 points per game. Flamed out of the league. He played 8 to 9 years, but he never was a consistent all-star player. Was never a consistently solid starter. So here, I actually picked Jimmy Butler.
Ooh,
as my second pick. The 2 other guys I could see going are Kyrie or Klay Thompson. I think Kyrie is best suited to be a number 2 on a championship team. He's incredible at it. The dude is an absolute bucket. He can score from anywhere on the field. He's a great 3-point shooter. But I think when you look at who you want to be your number 1 player, you want to have a guy that's a leader and then also is an all-around good player. And I think Jimmy Butler is a better defender and a better leader. And I think I would not based on if I didn't have Jimmy Butler's playoff run in the bubble, I'd probably take Kyrie here. But after how well he played in taking Miami to the finals, I would go with Jimmy here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, personally, I know that Butler has the most win shares of anyone in this draft with 84.4. I think I would still go Kyrie just because Kyrie's still 3 or 4 years younger than Butler. So I think I saw somewhere that Butler might be turning 33, and I think you can still get a longer prime out of Kyrie, and we may still see Kyrie win another championship or 2 if the Nets stay together. And it looked like he was pretty critical to their season success.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think even if
for sure.
Harden stays out of that whole series, I think a healthy Kyrie and Durant beat the Bucks in 6 games.
Yeah,
because in the first
yeah,
game
thinking
they won pretty handily. And then in game 3 when they brought it back to Milwaukee, the Bucks won a close one, and they won in game 4 when Kyrie went to. Yeah, I think if Kyrie's healthy, they win that series in 6. So I can see that.
Yeah, I think it's a close call though. I don't think either of them are quite good enough to be the number one on a championship team. So I think
I agree with that as well.
Different.
Yeah, and I don't think I think it's important to mention that that's not necessarily like a terrible thing. I think there's about 7 guys who can be number ones on championships.
Yeah,
We've seen.
Kawhi is probably the only one in this draft that I would think is capable.
Agreed. Like we've seen in the last 10 years, the guys who have been number ones have been Durant, LeBron, Kawhi, and Steph Curry.
And then Dirk, if you go way back.
Dirk's definitely going way back. And then if you go back even farther, Kevin Garnett,
Kobe. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Dindy will be the tiebreaker then. Dindy, do you take who do you have here?
So this is really tough for me. Like you guys said, Jimmy Butler had that crazy bubble run where I don't think he can be a number one option on a championship team, but he can prove at the very least be like a 1B to a 1A, kind of like a Paul George Kawhi scenario. And Kyrie, I agree also.
When they made that bubble run, I think if Bam Adebayo and Dragic are healthy, they push that to 7 games, and there's a chance they do win. Granted, it was the bubble, and I think that helped.
Yeah.
I saw some stuff about how being in the small arenas, it was a lot easier for the Heat shooters to get hot, and not having the crowds. So you could, I would understand if you maybe call that a little bit of a fluke. I just think I like his track record. But I think another thing that's important to consider here is Jimmy actually wasn't that good when he first got into the NBA. He was.
Yeah, and that's actually this is actually why I'm picking Kyrie. It took Jimmy Butler, I don't know, like 3-4 seasons to finally become good.
Yeah.
But Kyrie was great straight off the bat. He made his second All-Star team, his first All-Star team as a second-year player. Also, Kyrie, better shooter than Jimmy Butler. I'd argue better passer. Jimmy does have him on defense, so I got to give him credit there. But I think Kyrie, his just offensive, Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, we're really I think we're ultimately splitting hairs. It's very close. Kyrie walked into the
it's tough.
I think Jimmy had to develop, and I also think Jimmy has some tendencies. He's a decent 3-point shooter, but he gets a lot of his buckets from the paint and the mid range, and I think sometimes he has the ability to get cold. And I think he had a rough shooting time in this playoff. So when I really haven't seen Kyrie.
One thing I want to point out.
Yep.
I was going to say one thing about the second pick is that it is Minnesota, and we saw how what he did to get out of Minnesota. So if you're Minnesota, knowing that about him, do you hold that against him?
That is a really good point. Jimmy's one of those people that you need the right organization around him that he wants to be there. And Minnesota, I think, is one of the worst run franchises in the NBA, hands down.
Yeah. Them in Sacramento. I completely agree. And I think another thing is, since we have hindsight here, Minnesota did not do a great job of developing Andrew Wiggins, who is also a talented forward and wing. Okay, cool. Honestly, you guys have swung me. I would also you guys had me on the vote, but I would also go Kyrie here. So cool. Moving on to Utah. They took Enes Kanter. I think I wouldn't call this a bad bust, but he did not live up to the 3rd overall pick hype. He's one of the defenders in the league.
He's still in the league right now. Solid bench big, great.
That's why I don't want to call him like a bust, like on the level of like a Kwame Brown or an Anthony Bennett.
A lot of playoff teams have always wanted him too. It's just they've never been willing to
pay him.
Keep him happy because he has always wanted to start. and he's never
Yeah.
really reached that.
Yeah, but he's not in today's NBA. He's not a good enough defender to
Justify
be a starter.
And he is best suited to be a spark plug off the bench scoring kind of guy. But yeah, so for this pick, this is where I had Kyrie. Kyrie's off the board. So I think here is where you go Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, no question. He's easily the best player available in this scenario for me. That's why I put him.
This Utah team was pretty good. They went 36 and 30, or they had a winning record, I believe. Let me check real quick.
They did have a winning record. They made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, this was the beginning of the Gordon Hayward era, I believe, and they still had what was left of Darren Williams.
And Paul Millsap, Al Jefferson.
Yeah, they were 36 and 30. This was the lockout shortened year. Yeah, they had Paul Millsap, Al Jefferson, Alec Burks, Derrick. Yeah, this was a young Gordon Hayward. This was a very good team. So I think you could argue that because Jimmy Butler took so long to develop, that you go for Klay. But I don't think this Utah team was really contending. I think they were a second round exit at best. So that's why. So I would say Jimmy Butler here.
I think either of them would have fit really well. Like, assuming they stay in Utah for 10 years, which is a big if. I think either of them would fit Utah really well. I would probably go. I might be biased just because I haven't seen Klay play for 3 years now, but I would probably go with Jimmy Butler as well.
Cool. We'll go Jimmy. And I think even though Gordon Hayward was already on this team, we're seeing that a lot of guys who play 2 through 4 can all play at the same time, and it worked pretty well. The Tatum Brown tandem has worked really well. The Paul George Kawhi tandem has worked really well. I mean, I don't see any difference between Butler and Hayward being a talented wing tandem. Okay, so
Jimmy Butler's played a lot of shooting guard his career.
He's played a lot of shooting guard, and he's also very he's able to flip between positions. When in Miami, he was able to let Duncan Robinson play the shooting guard position, and he did well at small.
That's true.
So 4th overall, this was where Cleveland took Tristan Thompson. I think this is actually a pretty I think the top 4 guys are pretty neck and neck, but I think Klay is a step above the rest of the draft here. So this is where I put Klay Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, he's one of the best shooters in league history, great defender. Yeah, no, he hasn't proved himself to be number 1, but I mean, at this point, he's the best available.
Yeah, exactly.
Cleveland takes and pairs him with Kawhi in this redraft. You got like a crazy shooting 2-3 combo right there.
Yeah, and also what's crazy is looking back at this draft, what if LeBron came back to Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson? How insane that would be.
That would, yeah.
The league would be over at that point, unless they traded one of them.
Yeah, I mean. Well, they drafted Kyrie and they drafted Andrew Wiggins, who they traded for Love. But even if you look back, the draft where they took Anthony Bennett, Oladipo went 2nd. I honestly think a team with Kyrie, Oladipo, Love, and LeBron actually makes it a little bit. I think they win 2015 and 2016.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, those would be some stacked teams. I would love to see that team go against the Durant Warriors. Cool. So we have Jim. So we'll go Klay at number 4. That one was, I think, a pretty obvious one. Now, number 5. I think there's a couple of choices you could go here. I think Kemba Walker is the best available, but you have to think about Kyle Lowry being on this team.
When did Kyle Lowry get drafted in this draft?
He was 2006 draft.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And then he played in Memphis.
On the at this.
You just mean because of position-wise with Toronto. Yeah.
Actually, so this is before they got Lowry. This is the 2011 draft. Kyle Lowry played one more year in Houston before he went to Toronto.
Oh, okay.
So here I think Kemba Walker. Since they don't have a point guard, I think you could have.
If you don't have, and Kemba was a great prospect coming out of college too. I mean, he'd just come off leading them to a national championship. He's been, he hasn't been as good as I would have liked him to be with the Celtics, but a 2-time All-Star can average 20 a year. He's I think he's definitely worthy of the 5th pick.
Yeah, and he's also he made an All-NBA 3rd team a couple seasons ago too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I actually have something different than both of you guys.
Who'd you have?
Let's hear it.
I actually put Vucevic, and hear me out.
Okay.
I do understand the logic behind Kemba. I mean, back in Charlotte, he single-handedly took some of those teams to the playoffs, and even his first year in Boston, he was a great second option next to Jason Tatum. But the issue I have here is that it took Kemba a little bit to finally get his efficiency going and really become like a 25 point per game scorer or something like that he was in Charlotte. But Vucevic has been very consistent since he got traded to Orlando. At least like 15 and 10, 15 and 11 at the very least.
Yeah,
and he also changed his game to shoot threes.
Yeah.
He did make 2 All-Star teams. Granted, Kemba's done more winning, but Vucevic, I mean,
Kemba has not done a lot of winning, but
no, he is not. But I think like later on, maybe this is a little bit. I don't want to like go too far ahead of the future, but Kemba's had all these injury issues recently, and I don't think he's going to age very well.
Remember, we do get hindsight, and you're completely right. Since Kemba has had his leg injury, he has not been very good.
I think it's the consistency that got me.
Okay. Yeah. So do we?
But I can understand Kemba.
So do we want? Let me check. How many years of prime Kemba have we had so far? Because we don't have as much. So right now, just because those guys are all both in the league doing really well, we don't have as much hindsight as in some of the earlier drafts. So we don't know how Kemba is going to come back next season and how Vucevic is going to come back. But Kemba had 4 All-Star seasons in Charlotte. Average, and that was when he started being a 20 point per game scorer on decent efficiency. But I also think part of that is Charlotte not having any good scoring options and just having a lot of decent wings like Batum. Or Batum's more of a forward than a wing, but they had some decent defensive guys like Biyombo, Lamb, and Batum that were able to keep them in games.
That's true.
Just able to score really efficiently. I think Kemba has been a little bit more of a floor raiser than a ceiling raiser. So, but I also haven't seen Vucevic. I think I would still go Kemba here just because. Because Toronto was able to make it to the playoff, was able to have multiple good playoff runs with the Lowry DeRozan duo.
Okay. I can see that.
Cool. So actually, my next pick here. So Washington took Jan Vesely. I don't know how to pronounce that.
He's scrubbed, like mega scrub.
Yeah, he had less than 2,500 minutes played, and the rest of these guys are still in the league. Yeah. So here is actually where I took Vucevic. I thought Vucevic was the best available.
I agree.
And Washington wasn't doing anything crazy contending at this time. So
yeah.
And they picked a center in Jan Vesely. So, I mean, Vucevic would be
And they had just drafted John Wall, too. So there wasn't a huge need for a point guard either.
Yeah.
Exactly. I completely agree. And also, could you imagine those Vucevic, John Wall pick and pops?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
And John Wall was actually, like, pretty good early in his career. It's been late where he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and it's affected him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, John Wall came straight out of the gate. I believe he went to Kentucky, and he was honestly he was kind of old school. He didn't shoot a lot of threes or mid-range shots. He just got to the rim. Yeah, he was really good at it, and he could knock down free throws pretty well. But yeah, okay, cool. We'll go Vooch right here. And yeah, I think Vooch has done a really good job adjusting to the modern NBA with his three-point shooting. And he's made I think he has some room to improve on defense, but I mean, having a stretch 5 like that is huge. I think the future of the league is going towards those hybrid guys who can defend really well and also stretch the floor. I think we've seen how Rudy Gobert has been kind of exposed a little bit in the regular season with he is a fantastic rim protector, and that has worked really well, but teams can go. We saw the Clippers go 5 out against him, and they just dared them to shoot 3-pointers, and Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann shot them out of the building, which is crazy. And Gobert can finish at the rim all right, but he's not big on offense. He doesn't really do much else on offense. So I think that's what makes guys like AD so good, is that they can step out to shooters and they can still stretch the floor and then also punish guys that go small against them, because AD can still post up. But I think Vucevic is
big guy.
Yeah, I think obviously AD hasn't stayed entirely healthy, but I think guys should go towards that type of defensive stretch the floor, but still being able to post up big. Of course, I'm like, that's easier said than done. I mean, there's not a lot of guys who can do that, but yeah, cool. So Sacramento at number 7, they took Bismack Biyombo, who I think is a little underrated. I think he gets a lot more flack than he deserves. He's just a decent defensive big.
Solid role player.
Solid role player, exactly. Solid role player.
League,
he kind of reminds me of Nerlens Noel as a guy who kind of was a little overhyped, but it's made a role in the league and been really a decent role player, protecting the rim and grabbing offensive boards and finishing as a roll man in the pick and roll. And so here because they took a center, I would go with the next available center. And I would go with Valanciunas here.
Really? Huh.
What'd you guys have?
I actually put Tobias Harris.
Okay, I could hear that just because of based off of best value.
Yeah, I mean, when I do these redrafts, I like to do best available. I don't really care too much about positional fit unless you're looking at like a contender picking late in the first round or something like that. But I went with Tobias Harris. I mean, he just that consistency. Granted, he hasn't really, I think really the past like 2 or 3 years, he's really shown his value as a great player on a great team. But just that consistency, he gives you 17, 18 a game on 6-7 rebounds.
Sure, man. He's been a very solid scorer. And actually, so I definitely can see that pick, just because Sacramento, we know, hasn't been a contender in a while, and they could probably just take best available. So actually, I could see that pick for sure. Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I also had Tobias Harris just because I was thinking of best available. I wasn't looking at positional fit, and I also I'm not as familiar with his body of work early in his career, but the last few seasons he's been pretty solid. He's about a 20 point, almost a 20 point per game player. And if you look at his win shares, he's got 52, which isn't too far behind. Like, it's a little bit far behind Kyrie, but not too far. So he's got to be up there in terms of players in the drafts in terms of win shares.
Also, Sacramento at this time had DeMarcus Cousins, so I don't know if Bismack Biyombo would have really been the right choice.
Yeah. And honestly, I think Tobias Harris is actually one of the best players to have never made an all-star team. I mean,
I agree. I think he should have been an all-star this past season. He almost averaged 50, 40, 90. I mean,
and he probably would have been the year he got traded to the East before the all-star break. So he probably would have been one with the Clippers years ago.
But you guys have swung me. I forgot that the Kings had DeMarcus Cousins at this time. Yeah, I'm good with Tobias. We'll go with Tobias Harris. And honestly, I think another thing that's important to think about is that he has also contributed good points on a contending team, which is important.
He has in Philly. I mean, I think he's a great fit for Philly right now.
Definitely. And their roster construction issues are definitely for a different time, but I definitely think he should be in the long-term plans for Philly.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you throw a scoring or a couple more shooters in there, bam. Ooh. Cool. So number 8, the Pistons took Brandon Knight, who again.
Oh, Brandon Knight. Oh man.
Up to the hype, but did have a pretty long career. Actually, he played. Okay, so not as long as I thought, but he played 8 seasons. I mean, he has similar minutes to a lot of these guys that were or he has more minutes than a lot of these guys that were taken in the first round. I would call him disappointing, but not a total bust. Just because once you get out to the 8th pick, you're not going to find as many transcendent guys.
He's had a solid career, and I think he had a lot of injury issues, like freak injury issues.
Yeah.
That kind of stunted him a little bit. I think if he wasn't, I mean, he had his peak, in Phoenix? I think he averaged like 19 on like good efficiency. They were winning, obviously, but I mean, he's got the talent.
So he's actually the most cursed player.
He really is.
So the Pistons were looking for a point guard. He hasn't had the best longevity, but I would be fine taking Isaiah Thomas right here, knowing that we get the NBA season.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, he single-handedly took the Boston Celtics to the conference finals pre-Kyrie and pre-Jason Tatum.
Exactly. I mean, it was him and like Horford. And
that was the team.
Yeah, and they managed to make it that far. I mean, granted, this was when the East was really weak, but I mean, that's still impressive nonetheless. And he did make All-NBA second team. I mean, I just think what's most tragic about his story is that he was so insanely good at scoring that they were able to overlook him on defense. And when he had his hip injury, he lost that step. He was just never the same.
No.
And so
that derailed his career. Also, one of the worst trades of all time, going to Cleveland for Kyrie.
Oh my gosh, dude! I thought so that was the first season that after the Durant Warriors beat LeBron, and I saw that trade, and I was like, okay, Isaiah Thomas is going to replace Kyrie, and they added Crowder, which I thought was a solid role player, and then they also signed Dwayne Wade, and I was like, no way! Oh man, they have Kyrie's replacement, and they have Dwayne Wade.
They had Derrick Rose too for a little bit.
They did.
On paper, they were a great team, but they did not get along.
No, and they also were like one of the worst defensive teams ever. They were horrible on the defensive end. So that's why that team didn't work out. They're all way too old and didn't really fit in together at all. Guys wanted, and it was a lot of guys who were a lot of primary ball handlers. I mean, J.R. Smith wanted touches. They wanted Dwayne Wade to start. Isaiah Thomas wanted his touches. Rose wanted his touches. Love wanted his touches. And there wasn't a way to get it.
You're just not going to get touches when you're on the same team as LeBron.
Yeah, that's another one thing people need to realize.
That is a lot of ball dominant guys on a team with LeBron. But yeah, okay, cool. So pick number 9 was Charlotte took Kemba Walker. I think was a great selection, especially at this point in the draft.
Absolutely.
So here, I had Tobias Harris at this spot, but what do you guys think? So they were looking for a guard. I think the guards drop off pretty bad after Kyrie, Kemba, and Isaiah Thomas. I think it's way too early to take a guy like Reggie Jackson. So I would think maybe best available. What do you guys think?
I actually put Bojan here.
Really? Okay. I had Bojan coming a little bit later, not by much. But actually I had Bojan coming one pick later. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure here. This is where we're starting to get into the less fun part. I would have had Tobias Harris sooner, but if the way you were drafting, you still had him available, that's an easy call at this point. I think maybe I was thinking maybe like Markieff Morris or someone.
Oh, okay.
But and then again, he's kind of a head case, so like
he also
both
goes
of those
cold.
two are. What?
He goes cold a lot and has some bad.
He does.
What about Valanciunas? I think Valanciunas has had his best years on the Grizzlies this last season.
He's been a good starting center, I think, his whole career. Really, even back in Toronto, he wasn't scoring much, but he was still putting up good minutes, and he's a good defender. I put Bojan mainly because just his shooting is just and he averaged 20 last year with the Jazz.
Who did the Hornets have as their center this year?
I mean, they remember they ended up with they traded with Sacramento the 7th pick to get Bojan. I mean, not Bojan, Bismack Biyombo.
This was also the Bobcats back then.
So I don't know who they had at the time.
2011. I think this is also before they had Al Jefferson. Yeah, they they had
the year after this, the rookie season of this draft was actually when they had like the worst. What is it, the worst win percentage or something in the league?
Yeah, this
something
was
like that. They were like the worst team of all time.
Yep, this was the word. They were 7-59. Wow.
Yeah.
This sucks.
I think this is actually where I would take Valanciunas.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go Yeah, I think Valanciunas would be more of a seal, or at least a floor raiser at this point in time. And I think Bojan doesn't do much on a terrible team. Other than
no, he doesn't.
Cool. All right, we'll go Valanciunas here.
Yeah, I think you guys swayed me towards Valanciunas. Also, I forgot how terrible defensively Bojan was. So Valanciunas is a good I'd say he's a good defender.
Yeah. So number 10, the Bucks took Jimmer Fredette, who flamed out and won.
Oh my God!
How did he make it?
He's in the league for like 3 or 4 years, and then he like went to China, did like insane in China. Then he like came back for like a season or two or something like that.
He's famous in China, isn't he?
He is
Yeah, he is. He averaged like some absurd number of points in China.
That's gonna
be him on the Ben Simmons on the Shanghai Sharks would be quite the team.
The Shanghai Sharks next season with Ben Simmons, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Kuzma, Marcus Morris,
Rudy Gobert.
But so number 10. I'm not so here. This is where I took Bogdanovich actually. Just because I think a lot of these you are going best available in hindsight. Just if you would go back, you would want to have guys you can build around and build a championship team around. We've seen Bogdanovich has been really good on the Utah Jazz, who were the number 1 seed, even though they were kind of exposed with their with Rudy Gobert in his inability to guard pick and rolls and 3-point shots and small guard lineups. But yeah, what do you guys think? I had Bogdanovich here. Is there anyone who is best available who you would take over?
I agree with Bogdanovich as well, especially considering the fact that Jimmer. I just realized this right now. Jimmer Fredette was drafted to be like a shooter. Bogdanovich, I think, is like everything Jimmer Fredette probably should have been.
Yeah, I think Bogdanovich was more of a creator, or is less of a creator than Fredette was meant to be. But yeah, cool. We'll go Bogdanovich here. And actually, also, I think Bogdanovich has had some pretty crazy like scoring seasons where he's been almost like an 18 points per game guy. I'll look that up real quick.
I think he averaged like 20 points last season.
Yeah, Bogdanovich averaged 20 points last season and 17,
yeah,
18 the year before that, and 17 this season. That's pretty nuts for a spot up guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
And yeah, he's been, and actually in 2018, 2019 for the Pacers, he put up 18 points per game on 43% from the 3-point line, which I think is pretty nuts. That's yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So we have him at 10. Now that a lot of these guys, the best players are off the board, we can probably start going a little bit quicker. So the Warriors took Klay. Obviously, that worked out. We already talked about Klay.
Yeah, great, insane pick there.
Oh my gosh, the Warriors.
I don't even understand how he fell that much, to be honest.
He just was. I mean, the spot, like the shooters weren't seen as like the future back then. I mean,
you're right.
The Warriors drafted Steph. It was 8th overall. It's either 7th or 8th. It was after
7th, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was after Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn, and then Klay was 11th, and then Draymond was a 2nd rounder. That's absurd. I mean, to get your core duo to like that won championships, and with 7th.
Harrison Barnes too.
Oh yeah, I mean the Cavs
first ring
had Harrison Barnes was also a solid pick. I mean the Cavs had so many picks to rebuild before LeBron came back, and the Warriors were contending with them with worse picks, but they picked better players. So Klay's off the board, Bojan's off the board. They wanted a knockdown 3-point shooter. I put Davis Bertans here.
Really? Okay.
Just based off fit. So we're going with the hindsight that the Warriors have Steph Curry here. And when we don't know that they'll get Draymond Green, but I would think the best guy to put next to Steph would be Bertans here for the shooting.
Wow, I severely undervalued Bertans. I put one of the Morris twins here.
Yeah, I actually have the Morris twins coming a couple picks later. What, Joey? What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a shooter, I think Bertans is probably the best one available based on what we've been doing. So I would probably go with him. I think one of the Morris twins, I think they're both good players, but I just, knowing what I know about them, I just don't think they're a very great fit if you're trying to build a championship culture, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's an argument that
that is a good point. I didn't think about.
Sucks on defense, but I mean, the way the Warriors built out their roster, they were able to hide Steph really well. I think they would be able to scheme around Bertans or at least make him into a better defender.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 12, the Jazz took Alec Burks, who's actually, I believe he's been playing with the Sixers, and he's been a pretty good shooter. Does he?
The Knicks. He played for the Knicks.
The Knicks. That's
Knicks
what
currently. Yeah.
He was a pretty good spot up guy this during the regular season and the playoffs. I think I had him low. I still had him in the first round, but obviously obviously lower. So Utah, they've already picked in our redraft. They already picked Jimmy Butler. This team is good, but they're not great. This is a fringe playoff team. I would say so. They originally took Kanter to be a big. So in our redraft, they're taking Jimmy Butler. So I would say they still need a big. This is where I took Tristan Thompson, but I could see arguments for the Morris twins here, or one of them.
I put my redraft, I had a Marcus Morris going 11, so I put Markieff here. Markieff, I think, he's like a combo big. Marcus is like a wing, and Markieff is a combo big, right?
And if you look at their career, Marcus Morris is a little bit better in most statistics, and he's actually a decent bit better in some of the advanced statistics like win shares. And
Markieff is
there.
Okay.
Marcus.
Wait, which of the two did you say?
Marcus Morris is the better Morris twin.
That's what I thought as well, and that's who I was going to go with.
And also, I think another thing is the Clippers have been playing a lot of Morris at center in the playoffs when they go small. So I mean,
he could play center. Also, Utah at this time did have Al Jefferson still on the team.
Yeah. Okay. If you have Al Jefferson, then I probably wouldn't draft Thompson to go off the bench. I would go with Marcus Morris here then.
Marcus, all right. Joey, you agree with Marcus?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. 13. This is where Markieff Morris went off the board. Kind of funny that Keith went off first, but Marcus ended up being better.
Be like that.
Yeah. So this was like the end of like Steve Nash. This is where they were starting to rebuild. I would take Markieff here.
I would as well.
To rebuild.
Got it back to back. I mean, just like in the actual draft, they went back to back.
Another guy I think you could consider is Nikola Mirotic, who was really good on the Bucks for like 3 or 4 seasons before he went back overseas. But since he went overseas, I would have him later. So do we like here? Cool. We all good on Markieff?
Yeah, I think Markieff's the pick.
Okay, then so Houston, this is where I had Markieff Morris going. This is like let me check. How was Houston this year? So they
had I think they had like it was like Kevin Martin, like Aaron, like the shell of Aaron Brooks. It was like a weird collection of like okay starters.
Yeah, this was post Yao Ming in that era. So this team wasn't. Yeah, so this team went 34-32. They were okay. They were decent. They weren't great. They had Marcus Camby, Kyle Lowry, Chandler Parsons, Hasheem Thabeet. That's funny.
Yeah. This was right before they got James Harden.
Yeah, this was because they traded Kevin Martin, and Kevin Martin was a good, solid volume scorer.
Yeah, great shooter. Can't play, at all, any defense. Probably worse defender than Harden, but
no. And so they had a lot of bigs on this team. They had Camby and Hasheem Thabeet. So I'm not exactly. Who would I go here? I would say maybe you could go with Chandler Parsons here.
That's what I was thinking. I was just looking at it, and they ended up drafting him in the second round, which is a pretty good second round pick. But if you just look at, his win shares is, it's in the 20s. It looks like he's still been he was in the league for a while. Was a good shooter, like a decent role player.
I have to disagree with Chandler Parsons this high. And I'm a Houston fan, and I'm saying that. The reason why is because Chandler Parsons has been the past since he signed that massive contract with Memphis, he's been a shell.
Oh yeah, he's out of the league right now. He sucked with Memphis. A lot of that was due to injury. I think he didn't do a good job rehabbing and trying to get back.
No.
I think a lot of guys were really pissed at him after he signed that big contract.
Who would you take then?
I took Reggie Jackson.
Okay, this early?
Yeah, back in OKC, he was I'd say a great sixth man. He went to Detroit. He had, I think, 1 or 1.5 seasons of good play. Then he kind of had some injury issues, but in the Clipper, seeing him maybe I have some recency bias based on what I've been seeing in the playoffs this year, but I think he's the best available personally.
You got to think about it.
Not a bad pick.
Still a starter in the league now.
He is still a starter. And
yeah,
Chandler Parsons.
That's a pretty solid pick.
Chandler Parsons has had he had, when he was in Houston, I think he had his best years. And I think he had another year or two in Dallas where he was good, but he just fell off a cliff so fast. And I don't think Chandler Parsons is ever coming back.
No, a lot of these guys, if they're not still in the league right now, they're not coming back. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah. Cool. We'll so the 15th pick originally took Leonard. Already talked about Leonard. That worked out.
It didn't work out because Indiana traded it away.
Yeah, for George Hill.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Kawhi Leonard as a player worked out.
Yeah.
For the Pacers, or not the Pacers, the Spurs. Paul George worked out for the Pacers. It's kind of funny that they're playing together now. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard worked out, but just not for the Pacers. So here, I'm not sure who I'd pick. This is where I had Chandler Parsons originally. Tristan Thompson's still on the board. Mirotic is still on the board. Shumpert's on the board. What other bigs do we have? I don't think Biyombo should go this early. What do we think? Maybe best available here.
I put Enes Kanter.
You'd put Kanter here?
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, he's still what we were talking about earlier. He's still he can start, but it's just his defense exposes him so badly. But he's got a lot of value as a bench post scorer and rebounder still in the league.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He averaged 11 rebounds off the bench this year with Portland. There's something crazy like that. He's a rebounding. I value him a little bit higher than Tristan Thompson because of just what he can provide through a contender. I think Tristan Thompson's a slightly worse version of him.
Yeah, that's fair. And if you look at the win shares, Kanter is a little bit better, and he actually provides a lot better value over replacement player. So if you look at the advanced stats, Kanter is better. I'm cool with Kanter. Joe, you good with Kanter?
Oh yeah, I forgot he was still available.
Oh yeah, I always in our last one we forgot that Darren Collison was available super late in the draft. We're like, oh crap, we need to draft this dude.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, that was funny. We're like, no way. Why is he still on the board?
That was funny. Y'all, I was hyping Darren Collison up so much too. I was like, guys, you gotta pick him.
Yeah, we also forgot about Beverly for a while. Cool. So now we are on to Philly. This is when they were going through the process. They took Vucevic here, which didn't work out for them. It worked out for the Magic. So here I would go best available. I think I would go Tristan Thompson here. I could see Mirotic. If you want to go really like long haul, I could see Shumpert. But I really don't think Shumpert has been that good of a.
I don't think he's been good.
I do not. Honestly, I think Shumpert is. I think he's very overrated. I think people don't. I don't think he's a very good player at all. I'm just kind of shocked he lasted this long in the league. To tell you the truth,
I just remember him hitting the 4-point play in the 2016 finals, and I guess I have a little bit of bias with that.
That was a great play by him, but I don't think he's. I would not. I put him in the first round, but I drafted him quite low.
Definitely.
I agree. I agree with Thompson here.
Yeah, and I think
I think I was thinking either Thompson or because it's a big this one like dark horse one Faried.
Oh yeah, Faried
probably would go Thompson over Faried just because Thompson's still in the league and still playing. Yeah. He's probably got a few more years too, to be honest.
Well, I don't know about that. He's got the Kardashian curse.
Yeah,
he wasn't good.
He'll bounce around like with one or two more teams that just need a role player.
Yeah,
that's crazy how far Kanter and Thompson fall in our redraft. It shows how deep this draft was, and I think it's like we realize what players are really important for championship teams. And you really can't have too many solid shooting wings. That's why I think we value Bogdanovich and Bertans so much more.
Yeah.
And I think just a good center is something that's like good, fine to have. I mean, you'd love to have Tristan Thompson coming off your bench, but to put a top 10 pick towards that.
Neither of them are elite, though.
No. And they don't have they can't stretch the floor, and they can't protect the rim, really.
That's why Vucevic goes so high in this redraft.
He can shoot
big,
and also like he's just better score even inside scoring. He's like better than both of those guys.
So the Knicks here took Shump at 17. This is where I took Mirotic, or I also would consider Alec Burks here, because since they wanted a shooting guard, I think Alec Burks has been pretty solid for New York right now. So.
I put Alec Burks here.
Yeah, I would agree.
Cool. We'll go Burks.
He's had a solid career. He's been a good shooter. I mean, he can play point, he can play shooting guard, he can play small forward. I mean,
guards that can shoot are valuable on any team. So 18 was Chris Singleton. He sucked. He was
Who is that?
He sucked. He played I
don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he played 3 seasons. Was considered worse than a replacement player. So value of a replacement player is just like how good is this based off of how good a G League player would play, and like how historically G League players have been in the league. So he was considered worse than a G League player, and he has the worst. Him and Jimmer Fredette and John Vesely are the only ones drafted so far that have had negative value over replacement players. So
scrubs.
That guy, yeah. There's some scrubs. So we have Mirotic. We have Cory Joseph. We're starting to get a little bit lower. We have Shumpert. We have Mirotic. We still have Brandon Knight. We have Cory Joseph, who is still in the league. We have Etuan Moore and Faried.
What position was Singleton?
He was a power forward. So this is where I So in my redraft, I had Mirotic going here. I could see an argument, since he ended up going back overseas, I could see an argument for Etuan Moore or Faried. What do you guys think? Or maybe even Chandler Parsons.
I put Brandon Knight here. I can see the argument for Mirotic, but it's just the fact that he just kind of like said fuck it and just went overseas. Also, I don't think Mirotic was as good of a shooter as people make him out to be.
And we also have Knight. We also have Vucevic, who has already gone to Washington.
That is a good point as well.
So we might not go 2 bigs.
Yeah, I put Brandon Knight here. I think just his scoring potential, and he was a good shooter as well.
He might have had a good career too if he got to play alongside John Wall. Them both being from Kentucky.
Yeah, Detroit. Brandon Knight really did not take off until he left Detroit. Detroit, I think, just didn't really handle his development well.
So would you guys have Knight come off the bench or play shooting guard?
I'd put him at the 2. He did that when he was in Phoenix, back when Phoenix was trying to do that like 2-point guard lineup. I think he played the 2 with Eric Bledsoe.
And this is a year before they got Brad, so
yeah. In theory, you could put Brad at the 3, just go super, super small.
It'd be way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
I
Guard.
put Brandon Knight.
Joe, you like Brandon Knight?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll go Brandon Knight.
Just because if we already have them getting a big, then yeah, probably Brandon Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Reggie Jackson went higher and or I think really showed. He went a bit higher. Was the last real guard we took. I guess Burks was more of a shooting guard. Cool. Okay, so 19, the Hornets took Tobias Harris. God, I wish they kept them.
Oof, feels bad, man.
Definitely feels bad. Imagine. Yeah, just looking at these is absolutely crazy to think about. Like the revisionist hit, like who, like what teams having which guys. I mean, my God, if the Cavs took Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, and then took Oladipo in a couple of years, and LeBron came back, I mean, my God. Whew. Okay, cool. So Charlotte, they took Tobias Harris. So I went with what I had was the next best big, and I took Faried here.
That's what I was thinking.
I put Mirotic here.
Would you would you go with the Mirotic's peak over Faried's longevity?
Yeah, I think so. Also, like thinking Faried to me didn't really offer. I don't think he should have ever really been a starter. He was like a solid role player. He never really played good defense. He didn't stretch the floor. Mirotic, yeah, I think he's overblown as a shooter, but he could still shoot. And his scoring, I mean, just scoring in general was better at than Faried. Defensively, I don't think either of them were very good. So that, to me, that's why I'd put Mirotic.
Okay.
I think Faried I think they left the league. They've been out of the league about the same amount of time as well.
Yeah, they so Mirotic played 5 seasons and Faried played 8, and he last played with the Rockets with Harden.
Yeah.
Let's look. So Faried. So the thing I think is big for me is we can't really judge these guys based off how good they were as scorers. Faried has almost double the win shares that Mirotic has.
He does. So
that's why I'd still stick with Faried here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I can see the argument for Faried as well.
Cool. I always misspell his name. Cool. Awesome. So Minnesota took Donatas Valanciunas. He sucked.
He had one good season as a starting power forward for Houston. Like one good, and then he just flamed out.
Yeah, that happens, man. A lot of guys have one. Yeah, he did have one good season as a 12-point per game scorer.
Yeah.
And then he ended up playing in China.
Shanghai Sharks,
man.
I don't actually know it was the Shanghai Sharks, but
yeah, if you played 2K19, that's like part of my career is playing in Shanghai.
Oh my God.
Cool. So the 20th pick, this is where I think we're really just going best available here. We have Chandler Parsons, we have Biyombo, we have Etuan Moore, we have Brad
Cory
Walker,
Joseph.
We have Cory Joseph. We have Justin Holiday. I would go with so they wanted a big here. I would go with Parsons here.
I mean, I'd go with Mirotic here.
Yeah, I think Mirotic is. Okay, I think Mirotic. What I like about Mirotic is I think he fit really well when he was playing for the Bucks.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
So you guys like Mirotic over Parsons?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, similar. So Parsons played 4 more seasons, and he has about 9 more wins. Yeah. Okay. I'm good with Mirotic here.
Those injury issues with Parsons, the latter half of his career, just like really kind of scared me from drafting him.
So 21, Portland took a guard, Nolan Smith.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he played. He only played in 84 games with an averaged 4 points and 3 points, and then flamed out. So here I went with. This is where it gets kind of tough and not as fun. Redrafting. I went with Shumpert here. If you want to, or Shumpert. I could also see Cory Joseph. Those are just the best available guards.
I put Parsons here. I think his peak was just better. His first 3 or 4 seasons were good enough for me to like justify picking him here.
Okay.
Compared to everybody else still left.
Yeah, and I would say at least statistically, Parsons provided more for his overall for his team than Shumpert has.
Yeah, you kind of wonder if Shumpert would even still be in the league if he didn't get traded to the Cavs and win a championship with them.
Exactly.
I don't think he would have.
Yeah, and especially if you go like back to win shares, Parsons has him easily, and he has more than doubled his win shares, and Shumpert ended up playing more years.
Yeah.
Also, Shumpert went to Georgia Tech, man. So I got rid from a little
bias.
I know I'm biased.
That's okay. Chandler Parsons. I mean, when he was in Houston and Dallas, I think he was good enough to pick here based on just those few years.
Oh yeah, it's crazy looking back. Is like so. Dindy and I both went to Rhodes in Memphis. Like we both hate Chandler Parsons because this is when he flamed out and sucked. We signed him to a huge contract.
Everyone booed him every game. I remember.
He would get booed. Yeah, it was so bad. But yeah, we literally hate Chandler Parsons, and he's still going higher in our redraft. Cool. So 22 was Denver. They took Faried here. Faried's off the board. Who he thinks best available here? Biyombo's still on the board. Wanamaker is still on the board. Who has played?
Oh, I forgot about Wanamaker.
Yeah, he was undrafted. He played in the G League forever, and then actually got to play with the Celtics a little bit last season. Warriors this season.
I don't know. I mean, he was pretty solid for the Celtics, I thought, but I don't know. Knowing what I know, like how much time he spent overseas / in the G League, I don't know if I would draft him first round if you're not even going to get to use him for 10 years.
Exactly.
I agree. I didn't draft him at all. The first.
Yeah, I also didn't have him. I had Norris Cole going in the first round just because he played for the Heat and was actually a piece on a championship team, even though he's not in the league anymore. Yeah. Shelvin Mack and Kyle Singler played some decent minutes and stuck around the league for a little bit. I think at this point we go best available. I think Biyombo could come off the board at 22.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I put Cory Joseph here. I think just
Cory Joseph,
good shooter.
Available.
He's still in the league.
He is still in the league. Okay, so now
Biyombo is too, but I mean, I think just the value of a guard like Cory Joseph to me is just more valuable than a center like Biyombo.
Yeah. Okay. So 23, the Rockets took Mirotic. I would take if we're going Cory Joseph first, I'd go Biyombo if they wanted a big.
I'd be okay with Biyombo. I think I agree with that.
Joe, would you go Biyombo?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll go Biyombo here. We have only a couple more picks left. OKC took Reggie Jackson here. In hindsight, wow, that was a good pick, especially with how he's been able to stick around the league and perform on.
OKC's one of the best drafting teams.
They are a good drafting team, and they have a ton of picks.
They're going to draft the next few drafts. It's going to be all MVPs, but they can't keep any of them.
So we have Shumpert. We still have. Who was I looking? We still have Justin Holiday. We still have Etuan Moore. Who do you think's the best available? I think Etuan. So they wanted a guard. I could see us taking Norris Cole. Maybe that would be a little too early. Who do we think would be best available here? Etuan Moore, I think, had the best.
I put Etuan Moore.
What's that, Joey?
I said, who did you say? It kind of cut out a little bit on mine.
Okay, cool. I said Etuan Moore.
Yeah, I mean, he's decent. He still looks like he's still around.
He's a good shooter, I think, too.
He is. We're getting to a point where at this point, I mean, if you can grab a role player off the board, you grab a role player off the board. I mean,
he's still in the league, 38.8% 3-point shooter for his career. I mean, he's got a lot of value as a backup guard. I mean, I'd pick him. I picked him here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Etuan Moore.
This next pick makes me sad.
Marshawn Brooks, dude, he was in the trade for what's that?
He was I remember during this draft, people were actually comparing him to Kobe. They were like, he plays like Kobe.
Dude, so this is super funny. So Marshawn, I don't know why I had Etuan Moore in the power forward category over here. So you guys know how Dylan Brooks is on the Grizzlies, right?
Oh, I think I know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So a team was looking to the Grizzlies were looking to trade Marshawn Brooks. And there was a team that was like, hey, we want Brooks.
Dylan Brooks.
We want Dylan Brooks. And the like, no, we're trying to ship Marshawn Brooks. And the trade didn't go through because there was a miscommunication on which Brooks.
Oh my God.
But yeah, man, Marshawn Brooks has still been for how little he's played, he's hung around the league for a little bit.
It's because of those Kobe comparison. People actually thought that people were scouts back then were comparing him to Kobe, and they were like, if this guy somehow just reaches his potential, he could be like a 25 point per game scorer. He just never did.
Yeah, he never was. So best available, I this is where I had Cory Joseph. I think Shump has to come off the board. I mean, at some point.
Yeah. I mean, he does have to go first round.
I mean, it's we're getting late in the first round, and at this point, I mean, if you have a guy who played 10 years in the first round, I mean,
you pick him.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
We go Shumpert here.
I put Justin Holiday here, but I put Justin Holiday, but I can see Shumpert.
Yeah, I actually in my I had Shumpert going earlier, but in my my draft, and I had Justin Holiday going to this position. So 26, Jordan Hamilton sucked. He was a forward. So this is where I had Derrick Williams, the original second overall pick. Obviously, playing 8 or 9 years and averaging 8 to 10 points isn't good for the number 2 overall pick, but it's not bad for the 26th overall pick.
Yeah.
He had some value. He wasn't flaying out. He just. I
think a lot more of the media should do a better job of not doing this binary, he was good or he was a bust. I think some guys there's varying degrees of busting. I think Anthony Bennett was the worst bust of all time.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
absolutely.
Kwame Brown was definitely a bust, but he stuck around the league and averaged. I mean, he played 9 years in was a role player. I mean, that's not.
I argue he'd still have value today in the league.
I mean, if he was
decided to come back, I think someone would play him.
I think he's too old now, but I think when he was playing, when he was in his late 20s and early 30s, I think he provided value. I mean, even if guys end up being role players, they still can contribute. I mean, or contribute. Yeah. So cool. So 26, we'll go Derrick Williams. Then 27, this was Jajuan Johnson. I hope I pronounced that right. He was a forward, so I went. So I just took the next forward the best forward available. I went with John Lure, who just recently retired.
Yeah.
What about Justin? I put Justin Holiday here. He's still on the board and he's still playing.
Actually, yeah, that's true. I think Justin Holiday provides the best value here because he's still playing, and I don't think position fit matters that
also,
much.
John Lure, I remember him being a bench player. I think for Memphis, and he was you couldn't play any defense. Justin Holiday actually has value on the defensive end.
Yeah. So do you like Justin Holiday here?
Yeah, that works.
I mean, again, this is kind of where
this is all. It's you're splitting hairs at the very end. It's
these are guys we don't. I mean, not a lot of guys go and watch the NBA to see Justin Holiday. Let's be honest.
The crazy thing is, as a GM, you got to try and find if we were doing this without hindsight, we'd have to still try and find someone we're excited about this late in the thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You see on it, Jimmy Butler went 30. If Chicago had just checked out with that pick, they could have missed out on him.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. No,
it's good scouting and also the draft just being a crapshoot. I mean,
it's such a crapshoot. I mean, you have the 6th pick being one of the worst, like being worse than 10 guys in the second round. I mean, I think good scouting is just the biggest thing. And it literally is like they have the lottery, which decides the order of the picks, but the draft is literally a lottery in itself. That's why OKC is getting all these picks so they can just keep, I mean, you're just picking apples. I mean, you're just picking names out of a hat and hoping they're good. So the more names you pick, hopefully the better.
And OKC could technically draft all busts with all those picks. They could fail on every single one.
And honestly, what's nice about them having all those picks is they can trade up for a star with all those picks. Cool. Okay, so we're almost done. So Chicago, this is what I had Brandon Knight falling all the way down to here. They originally
did my man dirty.
Yeah, I just I wasn't super high on Brandon Knight. Cool. So
that's fair.
I put Norris Cole here if anyone has anything. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking.
I put Shelvin Mack just based on longevity.
They went with that's true. Norris Cole got minutes on a championship team. I mean, it's not bad. Cool. So the Spurs took Cory Joseph here. The Spurs are also a good drafting team. I mean, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
So 29th, I'd be cool going Shelvin Mack right here.
Yeah, I'd pick Shelvin. I think he's the best available.
Joe, you like Shelvin Mack?
Yeah, I do.
We'll go Shelvin Mack. And then number 30, we have nobody left. I mean, holy cow. I cannot imagine trying to find guys in the second round that work out. Have we taken we have Biyombo off.
Kyle Singler, I'd probably – this is where I'd draft him.
I was thinking Kyle Singler too.
He's a good shooter.
I don't even really know anyone else. And he was – I mean, he was good at Duke.
He was good.
He made an all-rookie team.
He did make an all-rookie team. I mean, at this point, we're just looking at guys who stuck around the league for a little bit. I mean, honestly.
Jimmer Fredette. Nah, I'm kidding.
But no, I'm dead serious. I mean, if you stick around, like if you have a guy that plays 6 years, 8 years, and you got him with like the 30th overall pick, like that's good.
You're celebrating at that point.
Yeah, but if it's between Jimmer Fredette and Kyle Singler, I think Kyle Singler's the choice.
I was joking about Jimmer Fredette. I didn't even draft. He wasn't even on my board.
Okay.
Yeah. I got my 31st pick again, Lawton.
What's your 31st pick?
Shanghai Sharks select Jan Vesely.
That's funny. Cool. All right, man. So kind of what we did last time was we talked about which teams did better and worse, like for real quick. So here, I think it's completely obvious. Cavs did a lot better. I mean, holy cow. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say a lot better. I mean, because Kyrie was a great pick and Thompson wasn't a horrible pick. But you're trading
with the 4th pick though, like that's a pretty bad. That almost makes me feel like they checked out when drafting the 4th pick.
Yeah, I mean,
I did look through some old scouting reports, and even back then, people thought Tristan Thompson was a reach.
And we didn't even know that Klay was going to be that good. But I mean, I think things will change, and guys will start taking 3-and-D wings. I mean, everyone wants more.
I think a team that really improved this draft is Minnesota as well.
Yeah, you're right. So they went from Derrick Williams to Kyrie, which is going from a role player to a superstar. Or at least depending on how you classify an all-star. I mean, a guy who's made consistent all-NBA, all-star and all-NBA teams. Did Minnesota pick again in this draft? Yeah, they ended up with Mirotic over Montehunis. So that was an upgrade. Yeah. Minnesota does a lot better.
Washington, I mean, Jan Vesely, I'd argue, is the biggest bust of this draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
They picked Vooch in this.
Jeez,
Vooch.
Honestly, I think any team.
Wall.
Yeah, I think any team that drafted higher up here did better, and any team who got guys like later did worse. I mean, the Bulls.
This draft just had so many great players picked so late. I think that's what makes it different than a lot of other drafts.
Exactly. Yeah. You had Kawhi. The Pacers do worse. Even though I guess it didn't really matter because they ended up trading Kawhi.
And they had Paul George at the time too. Anyways,
Paul George.
I feel like Yeah, I feel like everyone that year kind of knew Kyrie was going to be number 1 overall.
Oh, yeah.
Because I kind of remember that because he was like talked about, even though he only played a couple games at Duke. And then there was no one else they were talking about. I don't know if they were – it seems like some of them might have been lazy with their scouting. I don't know.
Even like Kemba, though, I think should have been drafted higher because that's the year he single-handedly took Connecticut to the championship.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing.
If anyone's drafting a guard in that 1 through 8 and they're not drafting him, I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I think they value bigs way too much in this draft. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 6 bigs taken in a row, and none of them have made a single all-star team. Not one. I think a couple of I think Thompson and Valanciunas are. I think Valanciunas is the only solid starter. I think
I agree.
I think Kanter and Thompson can be decent starters. I think Biyombo is a good role player, but not a good starter. And
I would agree with
out of the
that.
league. So yeah, we're seeing that centers are not nearly as important, or did not pan out nearly as well. And if you look past that, we have Leonard, Kemba, and we have Leonard, Kemba, and Klay, who were incredibly solid players. So cool. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this. Does anyone have anything else?
No, I mean this is a great redraft. Honestly, I had a lot of fun doing this one.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was cool. Yeah, no, I love doing this, man.
I can't get over how big a steal Jimmy Butler at 30 ended up being, even though it took him a little bit to develop, but that ended up just being huge.
Got to give credit to Jimmy Butler himself. I mean, that man works harder than any NBA player.
He was a late bloomer.
Well, I think, honestly, so I originally had Butler going second. You guys swung me. Since we're looking at this with hindsight, I think I think right now Jimmy Butler is the better player than Kyrie. I guess you could argue that because he didn't play so well. But I would definitely take Kyrie's career over Jimmy's overall.
Yeah.
It took him so long to develop.
Also, Kyrie does have a ring, and he did play a significant role on a championship team.
Dude, Kyrie hit the damn shot to put away the Warriors.
If you look at the body of work, I think Kyrie's like the clear number 2.
Like body of work wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah, I think I had too much recency bias just with Jimmy's run.
Kawhi was a little bit of a late bloomer as well. It wasn't really till like 2014. I feel like that. In the finals that he had his coming out party, but
that is true.
Since then he's been pretty damn good, and he's like we've covered. He's one of the few. He's the only person in his draft that's been able to be a number 1 on a championship team.
Yep. Single-handedly take his team. He single-handedly took Toronto to the finals.
Yeah. I mean, I think exactly. I mean, their second. I think that team was incredibly deep. But their second and third best guy was Lowry and Siakam. And they had obviously good pieces like Gasol, Danny Green, Ibaka, Norm Powell, and Van Vliet and Anunoby. Wow, that team was very deep.
Yeah. But when it was without Kawhi, they're not making it.
I think every finals MVP that other than Iguodala, I think you would be fine drafting number 1 overall. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was so dumb when they gave it to Iguodala that year.
Oh yeah,
it should have been Curry. Absolutely should have been Curry.
One quick sec. Let me grab my charger before my computer dies. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that was a narrative-based award just because Iguodala played decent defense on LeBron. But Curry should have won that. Curry was the best player on that championship team. Well, cool. What draft? What's up?
I was gonna say you pull Curry from that team, they don't even make it to the playoffs. Well, maybe they make the playoffs, but they don't make the finals. They don't get to the finals.
No, not at all.
They don't win the finals.
It's Curry. Curry's the catalyst for all these Golden State teams, even when they had Durant. I mean, not Curry.
So we know how Scottie Pippen has been saying some pretty absurd things on Twitter recently. Well, one guy was.
Isn't the? Yeah, he's been. I won't get into what he's been saying.
Oh my god.
He's been going at it. He's been beefing with Durant, and I do have a couple of opinions on that. I think the take that LeBron's a better player overall and a better team player is actually correct. I agree with that. But he was talking about to say that Kevin Durant played anything less than spectacular in that Nets series is just ridiculous. He put up a 40-point.
Oh, I agree.
Triple double with on great shooting, and I'm like, you know what? If Kevin Durant's putting up a 40-point triple double on 70% shooting, I'm not mad at him for that.
Kevin Durant. Yeah, I liked what Kevin Durant brought up when he just brought up that how Scotty refused to go into the game because he was upset about.
Yeah, they drew up the play for Kukoc to take the last shot, and Pippen was go in for that. I was like, yeah, dude, you can't really be mad at Kevin Durant for not being a team player when you wouldn't go into the game.
No.
Not take the
No,
last shot.
you have a significantly beter shot winning a title with Durant as your number one than you do. I don't think I'm gonna say it. You can't win with Scotty as your number one.
No, and the Bulls didn't. They didn't when one retired.
I think, yeah. And so what that reminded me of this is when there's a couple of other podcast guys who were saying that Iguodala or Scottie Pippen was like an Iguodala. And I'm like, okay, Scottie Pippen is being an idiot right now, but we're not going to act like Scottie Pippen was not that dude. He made 3 All-NBA teams.
Yeah, he was like a Klay Thompson or better.
Oh yeah. We're not going to
Paul George, honestly.
I think
for how they actually played, yeah.
I think actually as far as being a sidekick, I think he's on the level of Anthony Davis.
Oh yeah.
Well, if you look at it, LeBron and AD both made first team All-NBA.
Yeah,
so did Scottie Pippen playing next to Jordan made first team All-NBA.
Dwayne Wade may even.
Oh yeah, I think
Dwayne Wade was the best player on a championship team. I actually argue he's better.
Yeah, that's fair. I just meant during the time he was a sidekick.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a 1A, 1B.
We'd have to break down how many All-NBA teams guys made, but Pippen was making All-NBA teams, top 15 guys.
All right, I'm gonna
next. Well, cool. We'll wrap that up.